Work involved before we can even start painting. First of all, you have to wash your gun. You can use chemical solvents, but I just like to take a paper towel, get a little bit of hand soap on there and some water, scrub the gun down on the places I'm going to be painting. Then I take another wet paper towel or two and just go back over it and get the soap off. Once the soap is off, from now on you're going to want to either use gloves, latex gloves. You can buy them at a hardware store. They're really cheap. It's a good investment. Or you can just be really careful and only touch the same like 2 parts of the gun. It's much easier to just use the gloves, trust me. So another thing we got to do is tape up the parts that we don't want painted. Obviously, the butt plate of the handle is black anyway. Doesn't really matter. I think that the paint texture on your hands isn't great, so I'm just going to tape that part over. Some other stuff we're going to tape over is going to be the hand guard. Obviously, the stock butt plate, we don't want paint on that. Probably the charging handle, maybe this carrying handle up here, the trigger, the safety switch, stuff like that. So I'm going to tape that up and we'll be right back. Alright, so we started painting now. The things I taped off were the rubber foregrip, part of the charging handle here, the carrying handle, the trigger, the butt of the gun, and the bottom of the hand guard. And that's really all we needed. So I just started painting. As you can see now, if you get a good look here, it's a handgun, so the black is going to take a little while to show up at first. But if we just keep painting with our primer, this is Krylon primer that we want to start out with, it'll eventually get that nice black color that we're looking for. And so we're just going to keep painting. Alright, so we've done the gun on both sides with our Krylon black primer. You might be able to see there's some spots where there's a little bit, it's a little lighter or darker in places, but that doesn't really matter. The point is to get some paint on the gun so we can have something for our next paints to stick to. Next we're going to use some Rust-Oleum satin. This blue color, what you see, that's what it's intended to be. However, when we test it out, always test your paints before you go spraying on your gun. We found that it's actually a little lighter than they advertise it to be. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to put it over our primer, and what that's going to do is that's going to sort of give us a little bit of a darker color than we would otherwise have. So we want to put on a light coating of this satin, so we're just going to start in a real light coat. And the reason we're using dark blue, a lot of people like to use black for their shadows, their dark color, but this blue mixed with the black is going to make a really dark navy, and the advantage of that is going to be, it's going to look a little different, so it's going to be a little original, but also it's sort of going to let the shadows fill themselves in. You know, most shadows aren't pitch black, they've got a little bit of color to them, either a darkish green or a black. So this blue here is going to give us a little bit of a different shadow effect. And this is working really nicely. It's a really dark, dark blue, which is exactly what we wanted. And we're just going to keep painting this and keep dusting it until we have the desired effect, and then we'll come back and lay down some different patterns. Okay, so as we were putting the blue on, we noticed that on the front, the blue is a little bit heavier than we need it to be. So what we're going to do to fix that is we're going to take, this is just flat black. This is just flat black Krylon, but it's got this unique tip. And what the tip does is it actually applies the paint in a fan-like pattern. So what that's going to allow us to do is go around here and just put a really light fan coating of a little bit of black over the blue to just sort of even out the color. See how light that is? It's much less intense than a regular paint tip. And so that's it. We're done. And now you pretty much you've taken the blue intensity down a little bit. It probably almost looks black on camera, but trust me, up close it's a really deep, really dark midnight blue, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Alright, so the midnight blue is just the base coat, and now we're going to put down some of these stencils. These are just 2 pieces of printer paper, actually sheet music paper taped together. I just drew on some designs with a straight edge. I want this to be a very geometric camouflage. And all you need to do is take a couple, round pieces of tape and just put them on wherever you want to see blue on your gun. So we're just going to keep doing that. We'll be right back. Alright, so now we've got our stencils down. We just sort of laid them in a random pattern. So basically at this point, everything you see that's white now is going to remain dark blue on the gun. So obviously we don't really want that much blue because it sort of stands out a little bit. So we want sort of a dark brown khaki. So first we're going to put down brown enamel, and then we're going to dust some satin. This looks like a perfect color of khaki, but it's actually once again, it's different from what the cap says. It's very light, it's almost white, it's like an ivory eggshell. So one thing that's really important when you're painting stencils is when you're doing like a primer, you want to hit it from every angle, getting all the nooks and crannies. But with a stencil, you want to choose an angle and go with it. Generally, you want to go top straight down. And what that's going to do is it's going to hit the stencils in one direction, give you really sharp lines. If you think an object, if just one light is shining on it, you get a really sharp shadow, but if you get a couple different lights from different angles, the shadow is going to be really blurred and sort of spread out because of the different angles. So with our stencil, we're going to want to be very top down. So that's sort of just going straight down onto the gun is what we're looking for. And we're going to paint this up. We'll be right back. Okay, so we did the brown, and that was a very dark chocolate brown color as you saw. And then we came in with the satin. As you can see, this is a very light dusting of the satin color, and already you can see that it's really, really light. So fortunately, this doesn't blend very well with the blue immediately. We're going to put in a lot of green after this, which is going to all bring it together, hopefully. So that's pretty much what you want to do with the satin. You can see these brown spots where I put my finger to push the stencil down a little bit to get a more even, sharp line. And next, we're going to be moving on to our forest green and our army green. Okay, so for the final step, we've already got our green here. We've got the camouflage green, which is just a little bit darker, just a couple shades darker. And now we're going to put that on just in some female templates, which are just pretty much holes cut. This is an old box from from some garbage bags, and all you do is you take your paint, you go around, put down your stencil, and just spray on the stencil, and you're done. And put it in a couple different places to get some different effects. We have some smaller ones here. Let's try these out. Put that one there. And you can pretty much do whatever you want with this. They're really open-ended. I did a gun where I had a total of 3 different stencils, and I just kept laying them down in different patterns. And basically, even though I was using the same stencil almost every time, each one looked unique simply because I just rotated it a little bit. And it's really easy to do that kind of thing and get a unique looking stencil with really almost no work. You can just take a box cutter or a hobby knife and just cut these right out. So now we're just going to let these dry, and then we're going to come back and take off the stencils and see what we've got. Alright, so here it is. That's the finished product. Just really quickly, I took the barrel extension for this gun and I just painted it green with a couple of black and brown splotches, nothing too fancy, but it sort of matches the camo. And on the bipod, I taped off the black parts that you see, I taped off just for a little bit of contrast. And as you can see, I sort of faded the green, so it starts out very dark at the bottom and it sort of comes up to get light at the top. Didn't really match the camo, but I just sort of felt like doing it, and I think it came out pretty well. So there it is, with all the tape taken off. You can just see it's it's sort of an angular, weird, geometric camo. And this is, once again, based on the Swedish M90 camo, and that's how you do it on your XM8 or any other assault rifle. Thanks for watching.